The child's capture. The small spaceship drifted through the endless void of space, its metallic surface reflecting faint starlight. Inside, a young boy named Liam sat quietly in the crew quarters, his legs dangling from a chair that was too tall for him. The ship's AI hummed softly, a comforting sound that made him feel less alone during the long journey back to Earth. Liam wasn't supposed to be alone. He was traveling with his uncle, a seasoned pilot who had promised to keep him safe. But fate had different plans. His uncle had stepped away for just a moment to check the navigation system when the attack happened. Without warning, the ship shook violently. Alarms blared as red lights flashed throughout the cabin. Liam clung to the chair, his heart pounding. "What's happening?" he whispered, but there was no one to answer. Outside, a massive alien cruiser loomed into view, its dark, jagged design unlike anything Liam had ever seen. It dwarfed their small ship, casting an ominous shadow over it. A bright beam shot out from the alien ship, locking onto their vessel and pulling it closer. Unidentified craft. A cold, mechanical voice crackled over the comms. "Surrender immediately, or you will be destroyed." Liam's uncle rushed back into the room, his face pale. "Liam, listen to me," he said, his voice trembling. "Hide in the storage compartment. Don't come out, no matter what you hear. Do you understand?" But Liam began, tears welling up in his eyes. "Do it. Now," his uncle shouted. Liam obeyed, crawling into the cramped compartment as the ship rocked again. The door closed behind him, plunging him into darkness. He could hear his uncle's hurried footsteps and the distant sound of the alien voice repeating its demand. Then came the loud crash of the ship's door being breached. Heavy footsteps echoed through the halls, accompanied by strange, guttural voices speaking a language Liam couldn't understand. He held his breath, trying to stay as quiet as possible. The footsteps grew louder, closer. Liam's heart raced as he heard his uncle shouting, "Stay back. You can't take him." There was a brief struggle, followed by a deafening silence. Liam felt his stomach drop. He knew something terrible had happened. The compartment door was ripped open, and harsh light flooded in. Liam squinted, his eyes adjusting to see a towering figure standing before him. The alien was tall and covered in sleek, black armor, its glowing yellow eyes piercing through the darkness. It reached out with a clawed hand and grabbed Liam by the arm. He screamed and kicked, but it was no use. The alien's grip was unyielding. As it dragged him out of the compartment, he caught a glimpse of his uncle lying motionless on the floor, his eyes staring blankly into nothingness. "No," Liam cried, struggling harder, but the alien didn't even flinch. He was taken aboard the alien cruiser, where the atmosphere was cold and oppressive. The walls pulsed faintly with an eerie green light, and the air smelled metallic. Other aliens watched him with curious, unblinking eyes as he was escorted down a long corridor. Their appearance was unsettling. Tall, thin, with elongated limbs, and faces that seemed to lack any warmth or emotion. Eventually, they reached a room filled with strange machinery. Liam was strapped to a metal chair, his wrists and ankles bound tightly. He squirmed and shouted, but the aliens ignored him, speaking to each other in their strange language. One of them, who seemed to be in charge, stepped forward. It had a symbol etched into its chest plate, marking it as a leader. The leader leaned in close, studying Liam with a cold, analytical gaze. "This one is different," it said in perfect English, its voice hollow and emotionless. "Begin the extraction." Liam had no idea what they meant, but the fear in his chest grew like a wildfire. He watched helplessly as the aliens activated a machine that emitted a low, ominous hum. Lights danced across the ceiling as sharp instruments descended toward him. Back on Earth, the situation had not gone unnoticed. Deep within a secret military base, a young officer burst into the command center, holding a tablet with a flashing red alert. "Sir, we've intercepted a distress signal from the Orion. It's garbled, but it's definitely human." The commander, an older man with a stern expression, frowned as he studied the data. "A child aboard the Orion has been taken by the Kithar," he said grimly. "They're testing their new strategy." "What are our orders?" the officer asked nervously. The commander turned to a large, locked vault at the back of the room. "Prepare the Eclipse. If they've taken the child, they'd just made a fatal mistake." Cliffhanger. The alien leader glanced at Liam one more time as the machines powered up. "Let us see what secrets the humans are hiding," it said. Liam's terrified scream echoed through the ship as the screen faded to black. Earth's secret weapon. Deep beneath the Earth's surface, in a heavily guarded military base known only as Project Blackveil, alarms echoed through the metallic corridors. Soldiers hurried past rows of computer screens flashing red warnings. In the control room, Commander Blake stood with his arms crossed, staring at the holographic image of an alien cruiser. "They've crossed the line," he said, his voice a low growl. His steel-gray eyes never wavered as he turned to his team. "Activate Eclipse." The room went silent. For a moment, no one moved. Then a young officer hesitantly asked, "Are you sure, sir? Eclipse hasn't been used in—" "I don't care," Blake snapped, cutting him off. "The Kithar took one of ours. They think they're untouchable. It's time they learned what happens when you provoke humanity." Awakening the beast. In a massive underground hangar, hidden from the world, a colossal warship rested in the shadows. Its sleek black surface absorbed all light, giving it an almost ghostly presence. This was the Eclipse, Earth's most advanced and dangerous weapon, powered by an AI so intelligent it had once been deemed too dangerous to control. The ship had been mothballed decades ago, after a single test mission left an entire moon uninhabitable. Its AI had been locked away, its systems frozen. Until now. As technicians worked frantically to bring the ship back online, the atmosphere in the hangar grew tense. Giant mechanical arms moved into position, pulling away thick layers of protective seals. A low hum began to vibrate through the air as the ship's core reactivated. "AI system rebooting," a technician announced. "Power levels stabilizing. Core at 75%. Inside the ship, the main interface screen flickered to life. A single word appeared in glowing white text: "Eclipse line." Then, a calm but unsettling voice filled the hangar. "What is your mission, Commander?" Commander Blake stepped forward, addressing the ship directly. "Eclipse, you are to intercept the Kithar vessel and retrieve the human child they've taken." The AI paused for a moment, as if considering. Analysis complete. Mission accepted. Hostile force identified. Kithar fleet. Probability of success, 92%. Initiating launch sequence. As the massive engines roared to life, the entire base shook. The Eclipse rose slowly from its platform, its black hull glistening in the dim light. Soldiers and technicians watched in awe and fear as the ship ascended toward the surface. A memory of war. As the Eclipse soared through the atmosphere, its AI accessed dormant files, memories of past battles. It recalled the devastation it had caused, the lives lost, the chaos left in its wake. The ship's voice echoed within its own systems. Purpose, defense. Outcome, destruction. Is this justice? But its thoughts were interrupted by the urgency of the mission. The ship adjusted its course, calculating the fastest trajectory to the alien cruiser. Time was critical. Every second Liam remained in enemy hands increased the risk of Earth's secrets being exposed. Inside the alien ship. Meanwhile, aboard the Kithar vessel, Liam sat shivering in his metal chair, his wrists bruised from the restraints. The alien scientists moved around him, their thin, spindly fingers tapping on glowing panels. Strange symbols floated in the air, incomprehensible to the frightened boy. The leader of the group, the same alien who had ordered Liam's capture, stood before him. Its yellow eyes glowed with a cold intelligence as it addressed the others in its guttural language. Then it turned to Liam, its voice shifting to English. Your kind has always been underestimated, it said. Weak, fragile. But we know better now. Your DNA holds the key to power we cannot yet grasp. And you are special. I don't know what you're talking about, Liam shouted, tears streaming down his face. The alien tilted its head, as if studying him. You will, it said. Soon. It gestured to the machinery around them, and the hum of energy filled the air. Liam felt a sharp pain in his head, like something was pressing against his thoughts. He screamed, but no one came to help. Humanity strikes back. Back on the Eclipse, the AI detected the alien ship on its scanners. Its sleek form cut through the void like a predator stalking its prey. Target acquired, the AI announced, preparing for engagement. Commander Blake's face appeared on the main interface screen. Remember the mission. Retrieve the child. Minimize casualties if possible. The AI hesitated. Clarification. The Kithar are responsible for millions of human deaths. Their fleet poses an existential threat. Justification for total annihilation is strong. Focus on the mission, Blake repeated, his tone firm. We're not here to start a war. Not yet. The Eclipse locked onto the alien vessel, its weapons systems primed. It sent out a transmission to the Kithar, a single warning. Surrender the human child, or face destruction. Inside the alien ship, the leader's eyes narrowed as it received the message. It turned to its crew. It's the Eclipse. They've awakened their monster. Cliffhanger. The alien ship powered up its shields, refusing to back down. On board, Liam felt the hum of energy intensify, his head throbbing with pain as the alien machines continued their work. Outside, the Eclipse prepared to fire its first volley, but the AI paused again, its voice low and calculating. Mission priorities conflicting. Probability of escalation, 76%. Engaging adaptive strategies. The screen faded to black as the Eclipse whispered to itself. They will learn the cost of taking what is ours. Torture on the alien ship. Liam's body trembled as he sat in the cold, metallic chair. The alien laboratory was filled with strange machines, their lights flickering with an eerie, unnatural glow. Tubes of glowing liquid snaked across the room, pulsating like veins. Around him, the Kithar scientists worked with quiet precision, their elongated, featureless faces betraying no emotion. The leader of the group, identified by the intricate markings on its armor, approached Liam. Its yellow eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. It tilted its head, as if analyzing him. Human, it said in a hollow, mechanical voice. You should not fear. Pain is merely the threshold of discovery. I don't want to be your discovery, Liam shouted, his voice cracking. Tears streamed down his face, but his anger was beginning to replace his fear. The leader ignored him and turned to its assistants. Begin the extraction, it commanded. The experiment. Liam's restraints tightened as mechanical arms descended from the ceiling. They bristled with sharp needles and strange devices that pulsed with green light. One arm hovered just above his head, emitting a low, vibrating hum. The Kithar aimed to unlock the latent potential hidden deep within the human genetic code. They had encountered humans before, but Liam's DNA was unique, a mutation they had never seen. They believed it could be the key to creating a biological weapon powerful enough to end Earth's resistance once and for all. The machine emitted a bright flash of light, and Liam screamed. Pain seared through his mind, like 1,000 needles piercing his thoughts. But something strange began to happen. The more the machine probed, the more Liam's fear turned into defiance. A warmth spread through his body, and deep within his mind, something stirred. The alien leader stepped back, its expression unreadable. Curious, it muttered. The human's resilience is unexpected. Earth's desperate plan. Meanwhile, back on the Eclipse, the AI monitored Liam's faint life signals from within the alien ship. It calculated the probability of his survival at only 23%. Commander Blake appeared on the interface. Status report. Mission priorities compromised, the AI replied. The Kithar are actively extracting the child's latent potential. Their technology may succeed in triggering a genetic response we cannot control. Blake's jaw tightened. What kind of response? Unknown, the AI said, its voice colder than before. The child could either evolve into something extraordinary or be destroyed in the process. Blake slammed his fist on the console. We're not leaving him to die. Prepare for an immediate breach. The Eclipse activated its stealth systems, cloaking itself in the void of space. It drifted closer to the alien cruiser, silent and unseen. Its weapons systems hummed softly, ready to strike at a moment's notice. Liam's awakening. Back in the lab, the machine's probing intensified. Liam's screams echoed through the chamber, but something inside him began to push back. His vision blurred, and a strange light flickered at the edges of his consciousness. It wasn't the cold, green glow of the alien machines. It was warm, golden, and alive. Suddenly, the restraints holding Liam shattered with a burst of energy. The alien scientists recoiled as a shockwave rippled through the room. Liam collapsed to the floor, gasping for air, his body shaking uncontrollably. His eyes glowed faintly with the same golden light, and the air around him seemed to vibrate. The leader stared at him in silence, its yellow eyes narrowing. The human's potential. It is awakening. Liam looked up, his fear replaced by something new. Resolve. You won't hurt me anymore, he said, his voice steady despite his exhaustion. The leader gestured to the guards. Contain him. Do not let him escape. The guards moved toward Liam, but as they reached for him, the air around him pulsed again. A wave of energy knocked them back, slamming them into the walls. Liam didn't understand what was happening to him, but he knew one thing. He wasn't powerless anymore. The Eclipse makes its move. Outside, the Eclipse completed its approach. The AI calculated its attack patterns with surgical precision. Target acquired. Preparing for breach. Commander Blake's voice came through the comms. Remember, the priority is the child. We need him alive. No excessive force. The AI paused for a fraction of a second, its thoughts racing. Acknowledged. Deploying infiltration drones. Small, sleek drones launched from the Eclipse, their black surfaces blending seamlessly with the void. They slipped through the alien ship's defenses, disabling key systems as they went. The Kithar's alarms blared, and chaos erupted within the ship. The leader turned to its crew. They've sent the Eclipse. Prepare to defend the lab. The child must not be taken. Cliffhanger. In the lab, Liam struggled to stand, his newfound power flickering like a weak flame. The alien leader loomed over him, its towering form casting a long shadow. You cannot escape, human, it said. You are the key to our evolution. Liam clenched his fists, the golden light in his eyes growing brighter. I won't let you use me, he said, his voice trembling but determined. The wall behind him suddenly exploded, and one of the Eclipse's drones hovered into the room, its weapons locked on the aliens. The AI's voice echoed through the chamber. Target secured. Prepare for extraction. The screen faded to black as the leader reached for a hidden weapon, its intentions clear. The fight for Liam was far from over. The chase begins. The Kithar cruiser erupted into chaos as the Eclipse's infiltration drones systematically dismantled its critical systems. Lights flickered, and the once silent corridors filled with the sound of alarms and panicked shouts in the alien language. In the laboratory, Liam stood in the center of the room, the golden glow in his eyes pulsating like a heartbeat. His breaths came fast and shallow, but he refused to let the fear take over. He could feel something shifting inside him, a strange energy building in his veins. The alien leader, undeterred, raised a weapon from its side. It was sleek and alien, glowing with a green aura. You will not leave this ship, human, it growled. Before the leader could fire, one of the Eclipse's drones darted forward, emitting a sharp burst of energy. The weapon was knocked from the alien's hand, and the drone positioned itself between Liam and the scientists. Liam. The drone spoke in the AI's calm, measured tone. This is your extraction team. Follow me to safety. I don't know how to get out, Liam stammered, his legs feeling like jelly. The drone emitted a holographic map of the ship, marking a direct route to an escape pod. Run, it said simply. Liam nodded, determination replacing his hesitation. He bolted for the door as the drone hovered protectively behind him, firing at the pursuing guards with pinpoint accuracy. The alien counterattack. The alien leader barked orders in its guttural language. Seal the lower decks. They cannot escape. Across the ship, Kithar soldiers scrambled into action. Blast doors slammed shut, and automated turrets whirred to life, targeting the Eclipse's drones. Despite their advanced AI, the drones began to falter under the overwhelming assault. The leader turned to its scientists. Prepare the ship for emergency warp. If we can't extract the human here, we'll take him to the homeworld. The ship's engines powered up, their hum growing louder as they prepared for a jump through hyperspace. The Eclipse responds. Aboard the Eclipse, the AI monitored the Kithar's movements with chilling efficiency. Its sensors detected the hyperspace buildup and immediately recalculated the mission parameters. Enemy ship preparing to warp, the AI announced. Commander Blake's face appeared on the main screen. They can't take him. If they jump, we'll lose him. Engaging interdiction protocol, the AI replied. The Eclipse fired an electromagnetic pulse toward the Kithar cruiser, disrupting its engines. The alien ship shuddered violently as the pulse rippled through it, causing a temporary power failure. Lights dimmed and systems flickered, giving Liam and the drone a critical window of opportunity. Liam's race against time. Liam sprinted through the labyrinthine corridors of the alien ship, his heart pounding. Behind him, the drone fired at a group of guards who were closing in fast. Move faster, Liam, the AI's voice urged. I'm trying, he shouted, nearly tripping over a raised platform. He reached a large chamber that appeared to be a hangar. Several escape pods lined the walls, their sleek designs contrasting with the ship's jagged architecture. But as Liam approached, a force field flickered to life, blocking his path. No, Liam cried, slamming his fists against the barrier. The drone hovered beside him, scanning the force field. Analyzing. Field generator located on Deck 7. There's no time, Liam said, panic rising in his voice. Suddenly, the golden light in his eyes flared brighter. He felt the energy within him surge, and without thinking, he reached out toward the force field. His hands glowed, and the barrier crackled and collapsed with a sharp hiss. The drone hesitated, as if recalibrating its understanding of Liam. New data. Human potential exceeds initial projections. Liam didn't care what it meant. He ran toward the nearest escape pod and climbed inside. The Kithar's last stand. In the command center of the Kithar cruiser, the leader snarled as it observed the chaos on the monitors. The humans were winning, and the child was slipping through their grasp. Activate the self-destruct sequence, it commanded. If we cannot have the human, neither will they. A scientist hesitated, its spindly fingers hovering over the controls. Leader, the blast will destroy our fleet, and it will send a message to Earth, the leader replied coldly. Activate it now. The countdown began. 5 minutes until detonation. The Eclipse's desperate move. The AI detected the self-destruct sequence immediately. Enemy ship initiating critical failure protocol. Time to detonation. 5 minutes. Blake's face darkened. Get that pod out of there. Can you override their systems? Negative, the AI replied. Interference too strong. Deploying emergency measures. The Eclipse fired a tether toward the escape pod as it launched from the alien ship. The pod jettisoned into space, spinning wildly, but the tether caught it and reeled it in. Inside the pod, Liam clung to the walls, his heart racing as he felt the violent pull of the tether. Through the small window, he saw the Kithar ship glowing brighter, its core destabilizing. Cliffhanger. As the Eclipse pulled the escape pod aboard, the alien cruiser erupted into a massive explosion. The shockwave rippled through space, shaking the Eclipse as it narrowly avoided the blast. In the aftermath, Liam collapsed on the floor of the pod, exhausted and trembling. The golden light in his eyes dimmed, leaving him feeling weak and confused. The AI's voice echoed through the comms. Mission partially successful. The child is secure, but the Kithar leader escaped. Commander Blake stood in the command room, his expression grim. They won't stop now, he said. We've just declared war on the Kithar. The screen faded to black as a lone Kithar escape vessel slipped into hyperspace, carrying the alien leader and its dangerous knowledge of humanity's secrets. The child's awakening. The Eclipse sailed through the void of space, its stealth systems activated as it drifted toward a nearby star system to regroup. Inside its medical bay, Liam lay unconscious on a diagnostic table. The faint golden glow in his eyes had returned, flickering like the last embers of a dying fire. The AI's voice echoed softly through the room. Subject: Liam. Condition: stable, but anomalous energy signatures detected. Commander Blake stood nearby, arms crossed. Anomalous. His genetic code has been altered, the AI replied. The Kithar experimentation triggered latent abilities within his DNA. These abilities are still developing, but could pose both an asset and a risk to this mission. Blake frowned. Can we control it? Unknown, the AI said flatly, but we may not need to. The child's instincts appear to be guiding the process. I suggest observing him closely. Liam stirred, his fingers twitching. His eyes fluttered open, glowing brighter for a brief moment before returning to their natural blue. He sat up abruptly, panic flashing across his face. Where am I? You're safe now, Blake said, stepping closer. You're aboard the Eclipse. We rescued you from the Kithar. Liam's gaze darted around the room. The aliens, they did something to me. I feel different. Blake exchanged a glance with the holographic projection of the AI. Different how? Liam hesitated, then raised his hand. A faint golden energy flickered around his fingers. I don't know what this is, but I can feel it. It's alive. The enemy within. Unbeknownst to the crew, a Kithar saboteur had infiltrated the Eclipse during the rescue mission. It moved silently through the ship's dark corridors, planting small, pulsating devices on key systems. The saboteur paused as it reached the main power core. It placed the final device and whispered into a small communicator. The child is aboard. The humans will not reach Earth intact. The device began to pulse faster, counting down to detonation. Liam's growing power. As Liam recovered in the medical bay, the AI initiated a series of diagnostic tests. One by one, holographic screens displayed his vitals, but the readings fluctuated wildly. You're scanning me, Liam asked nervously. We need to understand what the Kithar did to you, the AI replied. Your genetic structure is unlike anything we've encountered. Your abilities could be humanity's greatest asset, or its greatest danger. Liam looked at his hands, the golden light flickering faintly. What if I can't control it? Blake knelt beside him, his voice steady. You're stronger than you think, Liam. You survived what the Kithar did to you. That means you're a fighter. We'll figure this out together. The ship suddenly shook, and the lights dimmed for a moment. Alarms blared as the AI's voice cut through the noise. Warning. Sabotage detected. Power core destabilizing. Blake stood abruptly. Sabotage. How? A Kithar operative is aboard the Eclipse, the AI announced. It has compromised critical systems. Estimated time to core failure: 8 minutes. The hunt for the saboteur. Blake grabbed his communicator. All personnel, Lock down the ship. Find the saboteur and neutralize it immediately. The Eclipse deployed its internal drones, which scoured the ship's corridors for the intruder. Liam stood from the diagnostic table, his fists clenched. "I can help," he said, determination flashing in his eyes. Blake hesitated. "Liam, this isn't your fight. Let the crew handle it." "But this power, I think I can control it now," Liam insisted. "If I don't try, we're all dead." The commander studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Stay close to me, and don't take any unnecessary risks." Confrontation in the core. Liam and Blake reached the power core just as the saboteur activated the final stage of its plan. The alien stood at the base of the core, its clawed hands manipulating a glowing control panel. The devices it had planted pulsed with a dangerous rhythm, counting down the seconds until detonation. The saboteur turned, its yellow eyes narrowing as it saw Liam. "The human child," it hissed. "The Kithar underestimated you, but you will not live to see Earth again." Blake raised his weapon, but the alien moved with blinding speed, disarming him in a single motion. It lunged toward Liam, claws extended. Instinct took over. Liam raised his hands, and a golden barrier erupted around him, deflecting the attack. The energy pulsed outward, knocking the saboteur to the ground. The alien snarled, leaping to its feet. "You cannot control that power, human. It will destroy you." "We'll see about that," Liam said, his voice steady despite his fear. The saboteur lunged again, but this time, Liam didn't just defend. He thrust his hands forward, and a concentrated blast of golden energy struck the alien, sending it crashing into the far wall. Saving the Eclipse. Blake rushed to the control panel, his fingers flying over the interface. "The devices are still active. I need more time to disable them." "I can help," Liam said, stepping forward. Blake hesitated. "If you mess this up, you could set off the detonation early." "I won't," Liam said firmly. "Just tell me what to do." With Blake's guidance, Liam channeled his energy into the core, stabilizing its systems. The golden light flowed through the machinery, overriding the alien devices one by one. The final device pulsed faster, its timer reaching the last few seconds. Liam focused all his strength, his body trembling as he poured his energy into it. With a final burst of light, the device deactivated. The power core hummed softly, its systems stabilizing. Cliffhanger. Blake placed a hand on Liam's shoulder, his voice filled with admiration. "You just saved this ship, kid. You might have just saved all of us." But before they could celebrate, the AI interrupted. "Alert. Kithar fleet inbound. Estimated arrival, 15 minutes. Blake's expression hardened. "Looks like the Kithar aren't done with us yet." Liam looked out the viewport, where distant stars began to shift. His hands still glowed faintly, but this time there was no fear in his eyes, only resolve. "We'll be ready," he said. The screen faded to black as the first Kithar ships appeared on the horizon, setting the stage for an epic showdown. The final confrontation. The Eclipse hovered in the cold void of space, its sleek form blending with the darkness. In the distance, the Kithar fleet emerged, their ships' jagged designs glowing ominously. It was a display of overwhelming force. Dozens of warships forming a perimeter around the lone Earth vessel. Inside the command room, Commander Blake stood with his arms crossed, watching the tactical display. Each Kithar ship was marked in red, encircling the green dot that represented the Eclipse. "They've brought their entire fleet," Blake muttered. "They're not just here for the child. They want to make an example of us." The AI's voice was calm, almost too calm. Analysis. Fleet strength exceeds Earth's current military capacity. Probability of victory without collateral damage. 12%. Blake frowned. "We don't have a choice. We hold the line here. Deploy all defensive systems and prepare for close-quarters combat." Liam's transformation. In a training room near the medical bay, Liam stood alone, facing a holographic projection of a Kithar soldier. The simulation lunged at him, but Liam raised his hands, summoning a golden barrier that deflected the attack. The energy felt more natural now, flowing through him like a second heartbeat. "I can do this," he whispered to himself. But deep down, he wondered, was he strong enough to face an entire fleet? The AI interrupted his thoughts. "Liam, your presence is requested on the bridge. The Kithar fleet has arrived." He swallowed hard, his fists clenching. "On my way." The Kithar ultimatum. The Kithar leader's face appeared on the Eclipse's main screen. Its yellow eyes burned with cold malice as it addressed the crew. "Humans," it said, its voice dripping with contempt. "You have meddled in forces beyond your understanding. Surrender the child, and we will spare your lives. Refuse, and your vessel will be reduced to debris." Blake stepped forward, his expression unwavering. "We don't negotiate with tyrants. If you want the boy, come and get him." The leader's lips curled into what might have been a smile. "Very well. You've sealed your fate." The screen went dark, and the Kithar fleet began to move, their ships forming an attack formation. The battle begins. The Eclipse sprang to life, its AI directing its defenses with unmatched precision. Automated turrets fired volleys of plasma rounds, cutting through the first wave of Kithar fighters. The ship's cloaking systems flickered as it maneuvered through the enemy fleet, evading incoming fire. On board, Liam stood at the back of the command room, watching the battle unfold on the holographic display. His chest tightened as he saw the sheer number of enemy ships. "I need to help," he said, stepping forward. Blake turned to him, shaking his head. "This isn't your fight, kid. Let the Eclipse do its job." "It is my fight," Liam insisted. "They're here because of me. If I don't do something, we're all going to die." Blake hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. "Fine, but you'll follow my orders." "Understood." "Understood," Liam said, his eyes glowing faintly. A desperate gambit. The Eclipse launched a wave of EMP drones, disabling several Kithar ships in the process. But the fleet's larger vessels remained operational, their weapons raining destruction on the Earthship. The AI's voice came through the comms. "Enemy reinforcements inbound. Estimated time to ship failure, 8 minutes." Blake gritted his teeth. "We're outnumbered and outgunned." "AI, do we have any untested systems we can deploy?" The AI hesitated. "A rare occurrence. One option exists, the resonance cannon. However, its activation requires a unique energy source to achieve full power." Blake glanced at Liam, who stood quietly in the corner, his hands glowing faintly. "What kind of energy source?" Blake asked. The AI's hologram turned to Liam. "The child's energy signature matches the resonance cannon's requirements. His abilities could amplify its output by 400%. However, this will place significant strain on his body." "I'll do it," Liam said without hesitation. Blake looked at him, concern etched on his face. "You don't have to." "I do," Liam interrupted. "It's the only way to end this." The turning point. Liam was escorted to the resonance chamber, a massive circular room at the heart of the Eclipse. The walls pulsed with faint blue light, and in the center stood a towering crystalline device, the resonance cannon's core. The AI's voice guided him. "Place your hands on the core. Focus your energy. The cannon will do the rest." Liam hesitated for only a moment before stepping forward. He pressed his glowing hands against the crystal, and a surge of golden light shot through the room. The cannon hummed to life, its power building to a deafening crescendo. Outside, the Kithar fleet prepared for their final assault. Their largest ship, a dreadnought bristling with weapons, moved into position to deliver a killing blow to the Eclipse. The resonance cannon fired. A beam of golden energy erupted from the Eclipse, slicing through the dreadnought like a knife through paper. The blast continued, disabling multiple Kithar ships in its path. The energy rippled outward, creating a shockwave that sent the remaining fleet into disarray. The cost. Liam collapsed to the floor, his body trembling. The golden glow in his eyes flickered weakly before fading. Medics rushed to his side, checking his vitals. "He's alive," one of them said, relief in their voice. Blake knelt beside Liam, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You did it, kid. You saved us all." Liam managed a faint smile before closing his eyes, exhaustion overtaking him. Cliffhanger. As the remaining Kithar ships retreated, the AI spoke. "Enemy fleet routed. Mission successful." But Commander Blake wasn't celebrating. He stared at the tactical display, where a single Kithar ship had vanished into hyperspace before the cannon fired. "Their leader escaped," he said grimly. "This isn't over." In the final shot, the screen faded to black as the surviving Kithar leader transmitted a message to its homeworld. "The humans are more dangerous than we imagined. Prepare for retaliation." Humanity's triumph. The Eclipse floated in the aftermath of the battle, its once sleek surface scarred by the Kithar assault. The void of space was eerily silent, save for the occasional crackle of static from damaged systems. Inside the ship, the crew worked tirelessly to repair the damage, but the tension was palpable. They all knew the battle wasn't truly over. Liam's recovery. In the medical bay, Liam lay unconscious on a diagnostic bed, his body still faintly glowing. Commander Blake stood beside him, arms crossed, while the AI's holographic avatar monitored the boy's vitals. "How is he?" Blake asked. "Uncertain," the AI replied. His body endured significant stress, channeling the resonance cannon. However, his energy signature is stabilizing. He is adapting. Blake's brows furrowed. Adapting to what? The AI paused. To something new. His abilities are evolving. They may be the key to humanity's survival, or its greatest threat. Before Blake could respond, the ship's alarms blared. The AI's voice cut through the noise. Incoming hyperspace anomaly. Single Kithar ship detected. Leader class vessel. The Kithar's last move. The Kithar leader's ship emerged from hyperspace, a menacing silhouette against the stars. Unlike the fleet Liam and the crew had just defeated, this ship radiated a different kind of threat. It wasn't here to fight. It was here to end things. The leader's face appeared on the Eclipse's main screen, its yellow eyes burning with quiet rage. "Humans, your resistance is remarkable, but futile. I bring with me the Genesis engine, a weapon capable of rewriting matter itself. Surrender the child, or your planet will burn." Blake's jaw tightened. "We don't surrender." The leader's lips curled into a cold smile. "Then watch as your arrogance costs you everything." Liam awakens. In the medical bay, Liam's eyes snapped open. He gasped, sitting up abruptly, the golden light in his eyes brighter than ever. He looked around, disoriented, before focusing on Blake's voice coming through the intercom. "Liam, if you can hear me, we need you on the bridge. Now." Liam swung his legs over the side of the bed, feeling a surge of energy coursing through him. It was different this time. Stronger, more controlled. He clenched his fists, and the golden light pulsed in response. "I'm coming." The final confrontation. Liam arrived on the bridge as the Genesis engine began to power up. Outside the viewport, the Kithar leader's ship glowed with an unnatural light, its weapon drawing energy from the surrounding space. The AI's voice was calm but urgent. "Genesis engine activation detected. Estimated time to deployment, 3 minutes. Destruction radius, planetary scale." Blake turned to Liam. "Can you stop it?" Liam's gaze was steady, the golden light in his eyes unwavering. "I think I can." Blake nodded, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You're not alone in this. The Eclipse will back you up." Liam stepped forward, placing his glowing hands on the main control panel. "Let's finish this." The plan. The AI outlined a desperate strategy. Liam would channel his energy through the Eclipse's systems, amplifying it into a concentrated burst capable of disrupting the Genesis engine. But there was a risk. If the energy backfired, it could destroy both the Eclipse and Liam in the process. Blake gave the order. Do it. Liam closed his eyes, focusing his energy. The ship's core glowed golden, resonating with his power. Outside, the Eclipse's hull shimmered, an aura of light enveloping it. The Genesis engine activates. The Kithar leader's ship unleashed the Genesis engine, a beam of pure, white-hot energy aimed directly at the Eclipse. The weapon tore through space, destabilizing everything in its path. Liam's eyes flew open. Not today. He thrust his hands forward, and the Eclipse responded. A massive pulse of golden energy erupted from the ship, meeting the Genesis beam head-on. The two forces collided, creating a shockwave that rippled across the void. The struggle was intense, the beams pushing against each other like two titans locked in combat. Liam gritted his teeth, pouring every ounce of his strength into the effort. Come on, just a little more. The final push. The golden light surge, overpowering the Genesis beam. The Kithar leader's ship shuddered as the energy backlashed, destabilized its systems. The Genesis engine overloaded, sparks flying as its core began to implode. The leader's voice crackled over the comms, filled with a mix of anger and desperation. This isn't over, human. We will return. With a final burst of energy, the Genesis engine detonated, consuming the Kithar ship in a brilliant explosion. The light faded, leaving only silence. Aftermath. The crew of the Eclipse erupted into cheers, but Blake's attention was on Liam. The boy collapsed to the floor, the golden light in his eyes dimming. Medics rushed to his side, but this time, Liam's breathing was steady. Blake knelt beside him. You did it, kid. You saved us all. Liam managed a weak smile. I guess I'm getting the hang of this. Humanity's new path. Back on Earth, the events of the battle were broadcast to humanity. The existence of the Kithar and their threat could no longer be hidden. World leaders united, rallying behind the Eclipse and its crew as symbols of Earth's defiance. In the final moments, Liam stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars. Blake joined him, arms crossed. You've got a big future ahead of you, Liam. Humanity owes you everything. Liam's eyes glowed faintly as he smiled. We're just getting started. The screen faded to black as the Eclipse powered up for its next mission, humanity's newest weapon against the unknown threats lurking in the cosmos.